Hello, I'm Lauren Laverne, and this is the Desert Island Discs podcast. Every week, I ask my guests to choose the 8 tracks, book, and luxury they'd want to take with them if they were cast away to a desert island. And for rights reasons, the music is shorter than the original broadcast. I hope you enjoy listening.
Hey there, it's Mazzy. Mazzy's Music. Welcome back. This is the third and final chapter in the trilogy of Desert Island Discs. If you haven't seen the first two, please watch in order. I beg you, and you'll see why. This is the official Desert Island Discs based on the original BBC by popular demand. The premise again is choose 8 songs that you would take on a desert island. Songs, not albums, not CD box sets, but songs. Share why you would take these songs and what the music means to you. So what the music means to me. Then you can take one book and a luxury item. BBC apparently supplies you with a Bible and a copy of the complete works of William Shakespeare. I love that. I have read the Bible. I read the Old Testament. So I read the OG basically, not the New Testament, but the OG Testament. So I don't think I need that with me. Not disparaging anyone's spiritual inclinations, preferences, loves, and I appreciate that, but not for me in that case. So it's the music for me. And at the very end, you're supposed to pick one of the 8 songs that's the most memorable. My first choice is a song by the Beatles from early 1967, and that is Strawberry Fields Forever. This is the American picture sleeve. Now, because of the rules, I cannot take this single with me. I cannot have the B-side or the A-side or the double A-side of Penny Lane. This happens to be my original, literally my original from 1967 Capitol Records copy of Strawberry Fields Forever. I remember the moment I heard that for the first time. I was 12 and a half years old. I had a clock radio when FM radio was starting to happen, and I was listening to the FM stations and the AM stations. And I remember literally the moment I first heard on the radio Strawberry Fields Forever. I was in bed. The table next to my head had the clock radio, and I first heard that for the first time. It was eerie. It was moody. It was so different than anything I had heard by the Beatles. And the Beatles had been gone for, 6 months by that point? A long time, 6-8 months. And in those days, that was forever when you're growing up, when you're a 12, 13-year-old. So I first heard that, and I remember it was the first time in my life that I thought about death. And it wasn't this intense sadness. It was just, I realized for the first time as a 12 and a half year old that we're not going to live forever, that someday I'm not going to be living on this earth, that I'm going to be gone, cease to be, as they say. But that is a stark memory of Strawberry Fields. And I remember hearing a rumor at the time, too, that Strawberry Fields was this cemetery in Liverpool. Obviously, we know now it was a children's orphanage. I didn't know it at the time in Liverpool. So that's my first pick on Desert Island Discs. I'm taking the song Strawberry Fields Forever with me. Now, I forgot to say that because I owe a lot to the people of the United Kingdom, that all my picks in this version of Desert Island Discs are British picks, with one British Empire thrown in, member of the British Empire. Well, you'll see what that is. But I decided I want to give back, because the people of Britain, the artists of Britain have given, and the United Kingdom, have given so much to me, seriously. And so I think this is time for me to give back and to choose this amazing music, these amazing songs that really a big part of my life growing up, and then obviously later as a young adult, and then as an older adult, an adult. Next, I'm going to pick Piccadilly Pie, Picture Sleeve on Pie Records. One of the greatest singles of all time in the United Kingdom. And it's a great song about London, about swinging London in a way. And that's the Kinks' Waterloo Sunset. This is a OG Pie copy, I believe. And someone's going to tell me if it's not an OG, but I think it is on the Pie label, UK pressing. Waterloo Sunset is a perfect song. It's probably the best record Ray Davis and Dave and Mick Avery. And I mean, it's the best song the Kinks ever recorded, I think. The best record they ever made. And there's always a difference between a record and a song. But this is one of those times where the song and the record really perfectly melt together in just a Kumbaya-esque way. Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks. I don't remember the first time I heard this, but I do remember hearing it on AM radio in the States. And just that opening guitar riff. Oh, God, it's just a great intro to a song. It's a perfect pop song, a great love song to London by Ray. The Kinks. Another one of the greatest songs that should have been one of the biggest hits of the 1960s. It's a perfect pop psychedelic masterpiece. The production, again, on this, and even the artist was baffled why it didn't become a bigger hit at the time. Of course, looking back on it, we acknowledge this masterpiece of pop music, and that's The Who, I Can See for Miles from 1967. This soars. This is from The Who Sell Out, one of my top 2 favorite Who albums, along with Tommy. Obviously, I Can't Bring the B-side, Something's Coming, which is a John Entwistle song. I don't think I'd want to bring it anyway, no offense to the Ox, but this is, again, one of the greatest singles. I Can See for Miles, The Who. I didn't pick a Rolling Stones song just to pick a Rolling Stones song. And to some people, this might be sacrilege to true, intense Stone fans. But in 1967, I love She's a Rainbow. This is the Stones doing their psychedelic thing, pushed in this direction by Brian Jones, and obviously as a reaction to Sgt. Pepper 6 months earlier. And they put out this. Michael Cooper photographed both covers. Obviously, Peter Blake designed the cover for Sgt. Pepper. The Stones got a lenticular cover on their version, and the Beatles and Stones shared homages in the cover photography as well. I almost picked Ruby Tuesday because I love this sort of Baroque and psychedelic sounds of the Stones. Of course, Beggar's Banquet's my favorite Stones album. In terms of a single, She's a Rainbow, I just love the beginning and that piano at the beginning. What a fantastic song. The Rolling Stones, She's a Rainbow, from Satanic Majesty's Request, on my 8 selections for BBC's Radio 4 Desert Island Discs. Now, in 1978, I believe it was March, I first arrived at Heathrow Airport, and a friend of mine, Rafi, who I had met in 1970 in Israel, he is a native Londoner, but he was working in Israel for a while, and he was on the kibbutz that I stayed at in 1970. So he picks me up at the airport, and we're driving in, and he turns the radio on, and the first song I hear completely from beginning to end is this song, and it was at the top of the charts, I believe, right at that week I was there. And I had never heard any voice like this, and that's Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff, It's Me and Kathy. I always loved the Laurence Olivier film, tragic gothic romance cinema, and Kate Bush. I just was blown away, and I bought this 45, this exact copy. I just love this song. I fell in love with the song. Wuthering Heights, Kate Bush, her first single, and all of a sudden she blew us all away. Never really hit in America until Running Up That Hill, and even that wasn't as explosive as it would be even recently in America. But Kate Bush never had the same sort of a success in the States that she had in the UK. Never saw her. I should have pulled the trigger when she did those series of month-long concerts in London, what, 2013, 14 or so, and I didn't. But love that song. That is a wonderful, wonderful song. I tend to like schmaltzy. I tend to like amazing melody and amazing vocals. And the next song I want to pick is Farewell, Farewell by Fairport Conventions, beautifully sung by Sandy Denny on this album. One of the best voices in folk rock music. This, to me, Liege and Leaf, is the best folk rock record of all time, UK folk rock record. Amongst the best of any country, worldwide folk rock record. Richard Thompson's on here, Sandy Denny, Dave Maddox, Ashley Hutchins, Simon Nicol, and Dave Swarthbrick. I love everything about this record. I like how they took a lot of traditional songs and made them current for the time. This is beautifully produced by the American Joe Boyd, who produced so many of the great UK British folk rock bands. But Farewell is a song that I like, if I'm alone, these kind of songs, even though they're they're longing songs, they're emotional songs. I like to kind of feel that way. I don't need a happy song to give me some false illusion of where I am and what it's all about. And being on this island, who knows? I mean, we can get into the whole psychological part of being alone on an island, a desert island of some sort. But I know it's all fantasy here. But I want to abide by the rules of the BBC, and I want to abide by the rules of Radio 4 and Desert Island Discs, and I want to appease all the people in the United Kingdom who feel I totally dissed and Americanized and on the volume 1 of this trilogy of videos I created. So what a beautiful record. Farewell, farewell, farewell. Next, I'm going to pick what's my longest song that I selected today. It's from an album, but somehow on this desert island, I get the song. I don't know what form. I can't take an iPod, can I? Apparently, I've been told that someone suggested that at one point. Talk about cheating. I'm picking Echoes from Pink Floyd's great album, Metal. Not only is it a beautiful, long, spacey song with wonderful vocals, instrumentation, and psychedelic, atmospheric, Pink Floyd, amongst my favorite Pink Floyd records, definitely. But Echoes has a lot of special meaning to me because Echoes is specifically the song I lost my virginity to. That's all I'm going to say about that. So every time I hear that, I hark back to this very, very long song by Pink Floyd on side 2 of Metal, and that is Echoes at 23 minutes, 31 seconds. And lastly, for the music here, this is the one that goes off island a little bit, goes to Australia. So you know the connection, obviously, there. And that's from Boatman's Call, Nick Cave. So it's in the family, right? In the Empire. And that is the opening track, Into My Arms. Into My Arms, I've talked about this song on my channel ad nauseum, but it's, to me, one of the most beautiful piano pieces I have in my collection, my entire record collection. It tugs at you emotionally. It's sensual, it's sexual, it's spiritual, it's religious. It paints all the pictures of religion without pushing religious dogma on you, I guess. That's how I see this. This is spiritual love. This is physical love. This is sexual love. And this is the great song, Into My Arms, just the way it opens up. And the way Nick sings it, almost just on his own, to me, just gets to me every single time I hear this song. Boatman's Call by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Australian. So sticking with the rules, I now have to pick one of my 8 and really talk about it. And I'm going to go with the Beatles. I have to go with the Beatles, Strawberry Fields Forever. It's a song really about, what's great about the lyrics here, you can apply them to anything you want. And being on that island, I can just imagine listening to this song. And it's not a song about a specific love interest or telling a story of a sailor or, longing for someone. There's a ethereal thing about this. Obviously, since I've heard this the first time and thought about dying, that would be appropriate, being alone on a desert island in a way. And I don't mean that in any kind of cynical way or spiritual way necessarily, but I think I can apply these lyrics to anything I want. I can improvise and make things up as I listen to this song. I can make this song be about anything. There is a kind of a darkness drone to this music, and there's so much going on. I don't know do I get headphones? How do I listen to this? Who knows? But the idea of listening to Strawberry Fields over and over, it's one of those pieces of music, one of those records that every time I hear something a little different or a little new. And I've heard this literally thousands and thousands of times since 1967. So this would be my choice out of the 8 if I had to pick one, and that's the rules. And I want to abide by the rules. And lastly, the book. I can take along one book. In the first video of this trilogy, I picked Jack Kerouac's On the Road, but since I'm staying all in the British realm here, I couldn't make a decision. Now, that means I'm cheating. I'm sorry. I picked 2 books. Maybe I can cut one open in the middle and stick it in and pretend it's one book, but I picked 2. And they're both based by or about Brits. The first one is Good Night and Good Riddance, How 35 Years of John Peel Helped to Shape Modern Life by David Kavanagh. Of course, the great, probably one of the most important disc jockeys and music curators in the world. I mean, I would listen to recordings and broadcasts, obviously, later on. I didn't hear every night at the time when it was happening of John Peel, but what an influencer, really. This guy was the real deal, and I learned about so much music from him, including the Smiths and Billy Bragg and so many. This goes through a lot of his programs, the entire programs on here. So I could, most of these programs I never heard. A few of them I have, but I could read through this, and this would take so much time. I could read this over and over again. This is probably the better choice to take along as a Desert Island book on this BBC Radio 4 special. But occasionally, you have needs. So I kind of want to, if I can bring a second book, if I can maybe pay extra baggage, pay a little overweight baggage, and this wouldn't be much overweight because basically she weighs this much. This is the Kate Moss book. This is a wonderful, small little book about, it's photographs of the great model starting in the early 90s to this day of Kate Moss by many, many photographers on here. And as you know, as a photo agent, I appreciate and love great photography. These are photographs taken by some of the world's greatest fashion and portrait photographers. I just love the idea of these unlikely model when you think about it. Kate Moss, did I say Kate Bush? I don't know. Kate's, I have 2 Kates here. But a beautiful woman, in a way, kind of full circle from the 1960s with Twiggy. But a beautiful little book, and I can just, hold this in one hand and enjoy it. The Kate Moss book. Great model and hard to be on in front of a camera. It's like acting. You can be like acting for some men and women. But I'm bringing that. Now, the last thing is the luxury item, and I'm sticking with my espresso machine. So my espresso machine, the big espresso machine, and I don't know the details about coffee and coffee beans and power and the water and everything, but I'm bringing my espresso machine with me. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Okay, you happy now? Mazzy loves you.